The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming featured entertainment includes The Fray on April 26th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Asher Grodman stars in a very special episode of the spooky sitcom Ghosts tomorrow night on CBS. He called in to share why he loves playing his character Trevor and to rave about his hilarious co-stars. Hey, Asher Grodman. Hey, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Thrilled to be here.
Yes, you of course play Trevor in the hit CBS sitcom Ghosts, which airs Thursday nights on CBS, also streaming on Paramount Plus. Now, last year, we actually spoke with Pete, Richie Moriarty, and Alberta, Danielle Pinnock, when they visited the Library of Congress here in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
And so now it's a treat to do a part two here with Trevor. This is great. So the reason we're talking is because you have a huge episode coming up this week, this Thursday, April 17th. And so we don't want to spoil it for the listeners, but what's an ambiguous way we can tease it for them? Why must they watch in most ambiguous terms possible?
I would say someone very key to Trevor's past is going to return to the house for the first time with a big surprise.
I think that is the best way to say it. And you have to tune in to find out what
you have to tune in.
Is, folks.
If you don't tune in, maybe avoid the internet for a hot second so you don't miss so people don't ruin it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know what this big spoiler secret is, folks, and I can just ambiguously second that. You're gonna want to tune in if you're a fan of the show because there's a lot of cool. How can we say? Like you said, it's someone from your past, so there's some cool backstory that we learned, and that will set it going forward as well. It's not just learning things about your past; it's gonna affect the future of the show too. So that's great.
It's kind of the fun thing that this show does, and it usually with other characters, it leans more into flashback. But because Trevor's is still so recently dead, a lot of his life is still very much. A lot of the elements of his life are still going, are still alive.
Yeah.
But this show. It's one of the fun things about the show is that we do kind of tell stories by flashing back because there's 1,000 years of history in this show. That's how long some of these ghosts have been around.
Yeah, and you're one of the more actually. I think you are the newest ghost, right? Because you're
the newest of the core 8. I am the newest.
Right.
We have killed people since then.
Right. So actually, that's a good point. I'm assuming folks all are fans of Ghost. Let's say there's some newcomers who haven't seen it. Remind us who Trevor, how he died, when he died, stockbroker.
He dies in 2000 or 2001.
Okay.
I won't give too much away because I think there's a really fun, if you haven't started the show yet, season 1 answers the question of why. Right. Of what happened to Trevor's pants. So I won't give that to you.
He is pantsless, but you gotta go.
I am pantsless, yes. I guess what I will give you is the show is basically about a young couple in New York who inherit a mansion in the Hudson Valley, just outside the city, and the beautiful Hudson Valley. And they move in, and the woman, played by the lovely Rose McIver, has a near-death experience, which leaves her with the ability to see and realize that there are 8 ghosts who have been trapped there since the day they died, and her husband cannot see them. And these ghosts have been stuck in this house since their deaths. For whom that was 1,000 years ago, like a Viking, and then there's a hippie and a Revolutionary War soldier and a jazz singer from the 1920s, and a finance Lehman Brothers partying frat bro from the early 2000s, named Trevor, who is, of course, the way he died, in a suit with no pants. And so they're trapped together for eternity, and she can see them and the husband can't.
Yeah. And I believe in the original British version, the pantsless character was a bit of an older man character, right? And
Yeah,
so
he's a little, that's the brilliant Simon Farnaby, who's an
right.
amazing actor and writer. And even a shorter shirt than me. Uh, and he's fantastic. And yes, he's a British politician.
But
So I think
great
that
for
he's
you that
a
they
little
made
older.
it a millennial character, a younger hotshot,
There you go.
stockbroker kind of a character, because you get to make all the references that, folks my age watching this show, you're referencing his favorite movies, The Cutting Edge.
Well, yeah, the fun thing for me is that Trevor is the generation that I grew up watching.
Right.
It's like Trevor's generation set the culture for my generation. So it was certainly when I first got the show, one of the joys of it was going back and watching the stuff that I grew up on in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so revisiting that, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, even in this upcoming episode, this big episode we're talking about, you're referencing, you make a reference to American Pie and
Sure.
Cutting Edge. So there's a lot of
Cutting edge,
80s,
yeah.
90s, pop culture touchstones
Oh
uh,
yeah.
that you get to make. Well, that's great. And I do, and again, without spoilers, if folks want to go back, to season one, I guess. But what I like about the characters, you assume one thing. Well, all the characters really, but in this case, Trevor, you assume one thing about him. Maybe that he maybe doesn't care as much about other people. He's more greedy. Well, greed is good was the line from Michael Douglas, Wall Street, 80s. But
Yeah.
like, so you kind of think you got to read on him a little bit, this frat guy. But the more you find out about him, he's a pretty good guy. So talk about just how you try to play sort of that hotshot womanizing guy on the surface, but he's got a bit of a soft side.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fun. That's part of what is really revealed in that Trevor's Pants episode in season one. For me, he was always a good guy because whoever you're playing is you always relate to.
Yeah.
But at the core, I think of Trevor is he wants to get the most out of every experience and enjoy everything that can be enjoyed. But he wants to do it um, like it's a party, which involves having the people that you love all partying with you.
Yeah.
And so, kind of having whether it was his friends when he was alive and that sense of loyalty, or this kind of found family in the afterlife, or his family, there is like a caretaker in Trevor. And so, what's fun about the episode that will air this week
Yeah.
is that one of the revelations that will come up is really completely antithetical to part of who Trevor is and aligns with another part of who he is. So it does kind of split Trevor in two a little bit.
I love it. And now I guess another question. This one's more for folks who have been keeping up with this season, but we're still not going to spoil what happens this week. But just for some, let's remind them some of your characters' other fun
Mhm.
subplots this season. Like you got to secretly work remotely because your magic skill is that if you concentrate hard enough, you can physically interact with the mortal world. Think Whoopi Goldberg and in Ghost and helping
So,
Swayze like move the penny a little. It's that you get to kind of do that a little. So
uh-huh.
you working remotely, you bribed a food critic for Jay, and you formed an
Oh yeah.
alliance with Eddie. And what my favorite was the pet snail, where you thought, we thought you were getting sucked off into the afterlife, but it was just the
Uh-huh.
snails. Poor snail.
Yeah, there's been a lot of this is a really fun season for Trevor. A lot of new dynamics. The job thing is such a brilliant idea. I remember reading when we first read did the Jay's sister episode in season one when you realized that Trevor was had discovered dating apps and had had found basically these are all situations where Trevor like kind of finds his life again, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's the dating apps or now having a job. And what's fun about Trevor is that he still has died so recently that there's still a world that he can affect and he can relate to.
Yeah.
Um, and that's so fun to play. And then yes, there's the other storylines where, like with his dog and the snail,
Yeah.
um, where he's still kind of processing what it means to be dead. And so Trevor's kind of at this like real torn between warring forces, both trying to connect to the real world and also slowly saying goodbye to it. Or maybe because of his power, he never quite will.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, folks. I think it's cool that how the show keeps finding ways to like to reinvent itself, and you sort of each season we expand sort of the powers that each ghost have. Like some are allowed to leave the property, and it opens the show up a little bit. Like I guess you have to do by the time you get to a fourth season, you find new ways to bring in other characters, or maybe have characters leave, etc. So, do you have any thoughts on how the show sort of has evolved? I mean, it is a one location thing. You're in the same costumes all the time. You have to be because that's what you died in, pantsless.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you have any thoughts on how the on praising the writers on how they've sort of allowed it to evolve and expand out?
Yeah, I think something that so Joe Port and Joe Wiseman are showrunners and they run a great writers room, and they have come up with some really really creative and funny and touching stories, and something that I've always really appreciated about the way that they work. I think this is an amazing concept for a show. I think it's one of the coolest concepts for a show that's happened in my lifetime, just in the sense that you really can go anywhere with it.
Yeah,
Uh, you can go back in time. You're creating a world of the afterlife, which brings up so many questions, and there's so many opportunities for satire in this show because it's like having eight born yesterdays in
yeah,
one
yeah,
show.
yeah,
Um, so that's so fun. But something else that's really great about this concept is that while I can say you can really go anywhere, it is inherently limiting because they can't leave the house. And
right.
I always find that when you have a limitation or you have an obstacle, leaning into that obstacle is usually a really, there's a lot of creative potential into leaning into what you perceive as the problem or the limit.
Yeah,
And so I think they do a really good job of like, okay, we're limited by this. What opportunities does that limitation bring to us? And so when we get
yeah,
storylines like what aired last week, something very small starts a real battle between two characters. And so uh, there is that thing of like the way how when you're in kindergarten or grade school or something, or you're in a situation where there's a very small group of people
yeah,
who you are interacting with, and that small group becomes your entire universe.
yeah,
And suddenly, very small things become huge to you because it takes up so much of your life. These ghosts are like that on steroids because their entire world is this handful of people. And so, one small slight
yeah.
is really, it means the world. So, making the small things feel huge is something that the writers have done a great job with. And
Yeah,
I
I
love
mean,
it.
anyone listen to this, imagine being around the same people, family, friends, whatever, all the time. You're gonna get on each other's nerves in some ways, but
Uh-huh.
add thousands of years in some of these ghost hundreds in some of these ghost cases.
Right.
But at the same time, on the plus side, you're also so close and tight knit. There's all these imagine all the inside jokes and things they've seen
Sure.
happen to each other. Like it's a camaraderie unlike any other.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's something that I'm also really I find really fun about the show is that when we flash back in time, not necessarily. I mean, I do love the flashbacks to when these ghosts were alive, but also the flashbacks within the house to see what it
yeah,
was like when there were only four of these ghosts there, or maybe there were other ghosts that came and went.
yeah.
Or it's one of the fun things about having Patience at the beginning of this season. Patience is a character, a Puritan, who
Said
shows
it
up for
wrong.
comedy.
Patience, patience.
Patience. It's so brilliantly played by Mary Holland.
Absolutely. Well, one more on Ghost really quick, because then I would
Please.
like to ask a little more about like before we go, like your personal journey as an actor, where you're from.
Sure.
But one more on Ghost really quick. I'd love if I want to rapid fire and throw out your co-stars' names or the characters, and just the first thing that comes
See
to
if I
mind.
recognize them.
It can be a phrase. It doesn't have to be one word if that's too hard. But yeah, like what makes you smile when you think about how they played that role,
Okay.
Sam.
Sam. Oh, I mean, Rose McIver's our fearless leader. Steady and so detail oriented, and it's amazing to watch. We go shoot a whole scene from all these different angles and all this stuff, and then we do the ghostless pass that she basically does alone, or with Ukarsh, and it's like one take. She's just a pros pro.
Yeah, because you do have to do everything
I
twice.
should have just said pros pro. That's what I
No,
should.
it's okay. It can be a little phrase. Yeah, but that's true. She has to do everything twice. Once with nobody standing behind her, and once with everybody there.
Yep.
And then all right. So then, her husband Jay.
Wildly creative. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could say creative and
yeah.
lonely.
Well, it must be really hard for him to have the actors there, but pretend he's not seeing them. That's an acting challenge. Yeah.
It is not easy. That
Yeah.
is a very hard and a thankless job.
All right,
He does a
Isaac.
great job at it.
Isaac.
I think Brandon Scott Jones is, I just think, the funniest human being that I have ever come across. I love him as one of my best friends in the world, and just brings a ton of joy to my life.
And this season we got to see why he hates Alexander Hamilton.
That's right. That's right.
Hetty.
Ah, Rebecca Wasaki, another one of my dearest friends. Just like a craftswoman of the highest degree. I so deeply admire her work and her specificity, and just love her as a person.
All right, Pete.
Richie Moriarty. It's very hard to know Richie. I can't imagine anyone knowing Richie Moriarty and not loving Richie Moriarty. He's just a ball of joy, and just a great. He's like the dad on set. I love him.
He's actually local to our area. I believe he's from Rockville, Maryland.
He
So
is actually Utkarsh, and Brandon are all Maryland.
all Maryland natives. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Poor Richie having to wear that arrow all the time. That must be your turn radius is you're
he's
worried you're gonna
fine. People
hit
have
your
it much
toe or
worse
something.
than Richie.
Yeah, for
He's
sure. Alberta.
Daniel Pinnock is just what a bright light. She brings so much joy to her work, so much laughter. I remember when we in that Alberta's fan episode, her yelling, "I'm famous." Uh, just so much fun.
And also has some creepy fans that were collecting
Yes.
memorabilia and what was it, toenails or skin? It was something really,
Yeah.
really gross, but
Fingernails, toenails, toenails.
she had her fans.
That's right.
Only a couple more. Thor.
Devin Chandler Long. Oh my God. I'm gonna end up just saying the same thing that I love all these people because I really do. I love Devin. That is one of the most uh unfathomably creative people.
Yeah.
I could hand Devin Chandler Long a microphone and be like, just go. And he could weave a tale that would have you cackling. Just so creative. And uh yeah, I mean, we do these panels sometimes where people ask us all questions, and someone will ask a Dev a question. He'll be like, "No, I'm not going to answer that," and then he'll just go off on this tangent that you could, if you were high on the greatest drugs in the world, you wouldn't come up with.
Yeah.
Just so wildly imaginative.
Those Viking tales he weaves. And he hates what is it? Danes. He hates the Danes, right?
Hates
Yeah.
dance. Yes, that's right.
Whenever he makes those sort of jokes, and he's lovable while he does it. So it reminds me of Michael Caine in what was it? The third Austin Powers, when he goes, "There are two types of people I can't stand in this world.
Oh,
Those who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch."
right. That's right. I forgot
But for
about
Thorfinn, it's the Danes.
that.
All right. Flower.
Sheila Carrasco is like an unsung hero on our show because she has the hardest job of anyone because Flower is in the same reality that we are all in, but at the same time she's high on what seems like every drug imaginable. So to have to balance every scene that she's in with whatever that other reality is that she is seeing and experiencing, and to hold that timing. She's one of the great improvisers on the show. I just think she's a genius.
And because of all the acid trips, I'm sure can't remember anything, which makes for such hilarious banter.
Yeah.
All right, one more. I think Sass. I think that's the last of the main ghosts, right?
Yeah, Roman. Roman is like a true Renaissance man. Like he's so young, which we all hate because we all wish we were that young.
Yeah.
He's such a great soul, so talented, a musician, a writer. He's an athlete. I mean, it's true like Renaissance man vibes from Roman.
And as the
Love it.
Native American character, I guess he would be the oldest ghost there on the property, right? Like probably.
Dev, the Viking would be the oldest
Oh, the
ghost.
Viking, technically.
Second oldest, yeah.
Right, right, exactly. Was that just imagining things, or in season one, I feel like Sass would like pop up a episode, then disappear an episode, and like, but you're all pretty much
The
there in
first
most episodes now.
Yeah, the first season, not everyone was at every episode.
Yeah.
And so then in season two, everyone was. Season three, everyone was. In season four, we went back to not everyone being in every episode. And I don't really know what's going to happen in the next season. But as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, the more that everyone can be in, the better.
I love when you're all there. All right. Well, you've been generous with your time. Before we go, I would like to give you the floor to talk about sort of a little of your backstory, where yourself, you did not grow up as a, pantsless stockbroker. Where are you actually from? And, how did you get into this acting racket?
I'm from a very rural area of New Jersey, like on the way to Pennsylvania, like 45 minutes west of Morristown, I guess is the biggest like town nearby. And just kind of grew up on this like old farm without anything that we were farming, old horse farm.
Nice.
And yeah, I like a very shy kid, and then slowly through the course of I guess a bar mitzvah and a lot of romantic I guess I was a romantic and attempts to I don't know, through romantic gestures and a bar mitzvah, I found a little bit of a kind of performative or perform is the wrong word, but it came out of my shell a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I've been kind of doing this as an actor for like 20 years before Ghost showed up, and
Wow.
just trying to like, scrape together some kind of a career, and have made many, many mistakes, got a few things right. And one of the things I got right was Ghosts. So it was lucky that it came along when it did. And it's taken me through a pandemic and a strike and all this turmoil, and it's been one of the greatest joys. Um, but yeah, it's been like a long, like 25 years of being an actor.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen you pop up in, Succession and House of
Sure.
Cards and Law and Order and a bunch of great shows. Is there a
One
role?
little fact, actually, I'm in Succession, and that same episode, not Succession, sorry, House of Cards. I think I'm in the finale of it, and Richie's in the same episode, actually.
Really?
Yeah, Richie and I both have small roles in that episode.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Which
That was
role?
at the point where the show was ending, and like every actor in New York was like, wait, I don't care what it is. I just want a little role in this show. I just want to
Yeah,
get in the end.
I want to make certain, add that to my credits.
Yeah, right.
Well, is there a role prior to Ghost that you're the most proud of that you invite our listeners, if they love you in Ghost, to go back, whether it was an indie movie that no one's heard of or a part in a cool TV show?
Um, I think both of them would probably be like theater things. Like I got to do Amadeus when I was at South Coast Rep and play the Mozart role. So that
Really?
was a
So
lot of
did you do
fun. Yeah.
the crazy laugh? That
Yeah, I had to do my own kind of laugh. I don't have that kind of actually I probably could have done that. But I didn't. I did my own thing.
Well, who was your
Uh
Salieri?
My Salieri was a guy named Marco Baricelli, who is an amazing actor, like a legend in the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and ACT in San Francisco, where I went to grad school. And he was my Salieri, which was such a because that's really Mozart gets the laughs and the fun of it, but Salieri really it's really all on his shoulders.
Poor guy
So
to be
that was
one
a
of the
lot of fun. It
greatest
was very funny.
composers, but you happen
I
to live
know.
in the time of Mozart. Poor guy.
I know. It's very funny because I lost my voice in the previews of that show
Yeah.
and had to go on steroids to get it back. So opening night I was at like 50%, and they had to cancel one preview. And so at the end we had one last show that was added at the very end to make up for the lost preview. And Marco, again amazing actor, um, comes into my dressing room before the show, and he said, "This performance is dedicated to your." And this is me touching my vocal cords as though
Nice.
I
I,
kept him at work one more day
I love it.
uh, because of my lost voice. So that was a really fun experience for me. I guess I'd say that. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Thanks. I threw out film and TV, but I'm glad you plucked a theater role.
I mean, my real like greatest joy was like a year and a half ago where I wrote and directed the Jacksonville Jaguars schedule release video, and that was a true as
Really?
a big football fan, yeah. And it starred all their players and Trevor
Nice.
Lawrence and the owner and the coach, and then that film like won an award at Tribeca, won an award at Cannes. Like that was my as a Jaguars fan, as a football fan, and an actor, and it was all about the NFL. It was a mockumentary about the NFL being scripted.
Right, right.
So it was merging like the acting and television world and the football world. So that was my true like my 8-year-old beaming on all cylinders.
That's a brilliant idea. Wait a minute. You're from Jersey. How are you a Jags fan? Just when they became the expansion team, you just thought it was cool?
Yeah, no, they went to the AFC Championship in the second year. My dad is a lifelong Lions fan, and I grew up that way. And then Lions have had yeah, you're laughing. The Lions have had a long, hard journey.
And I'm
Um,
sorry what Jaden Daniels did to y'all on the road to
yes,
the
well, he was great.
NFC.
Yes, who wouldn't love Jaden Daniels right now?
Yeah.
But basically, my mom went to my dad and said, "You can't do this to your children. They're not going to have friends. They're going to suffer." And so I was like 8 years old, and it was 1995, and my dad told me I had to pick my own team. And the Jaguars had just been born, and so I chose them, and it was an amazing first few years, and then we kind of got lost in the wilderness for a little bit. But I have a lot of faith in the future.
Well, you know what we have in common? We'll always have Mark Brunell, both of us.
I love. Oh, because you're
Yeah,
Washington D.C. Oh yes, oh yes. Of course. I'm
he
sorry.
came
Yes.
during the Joe Gibbs 2.0.
After yes, and like set the record for completion percentage in a game with
It
you
was
guys.
just a bunch of dinks and dunks.
I know. I love Mark Brunell.
Sean
God.
Taylor was the reason we did well that year. But anyway, rest in peace.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Anyway, well, you've been generous. I didn't know we'd be talking football. What's next beyond Ghost? Final seconds. You want to tease any other projects or just Ghost this week?
I mean, Ghost is the next thing coming up. I got to direct a project for Paramount for their upfronts, which was fun. Make a little movie for them. So that was just more directing, which I would love to do more of. Would love to direct on our show one day, I hope. And then we're about to turn the corner and start our next season. So the good news about a 2-season pickup is there's a lot of Ghosts going on.
Yeah. So there will be a season 5 for sure already. It's already
Season 5 and 6.
and 6. Oh, they did additional 2 after.
Double pickup.
Wow, most shows kill to get to that 5th season.
I know.
You're going
That's
6, so that's fantastic. Not
pretty
to mention
wild.
the British version. So lots of Ghosts. Hey,
Lots
thank
of
you.
Ghosts.
Thank you so much for joining us, Asher Grodman. Everyone, tune in to Ghost this Thursday on CBS and Paramount Plus because it's a big episode for Trevor. You don't want to miss it. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much, Jason. Such a pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.